Welcome to the show, team. My name is Bart Walsh. I am a keynote speaker. I'm also a fitness expert, and you have stumbled upon a show that is built for you, a show for health advice for people who maybe have forgotten about their health and fitness or are just utterly confused and sick of influencers telling them to do ice baths. This is realistic health advice, both for your body and for your mind, for real humans. And today, we are diving into a script that a lot of you may or may not be in, feeling stuck. Before we get into the juicy details, we are a new show. We have a pretty hefty mission at Health for Humans. So any 5-star rating, any like, any subscribe on whatever platform you're on goes a really long way in appeasing our algorithm overlords. So any second you can take out of your day to do one of those, I will be forever grateful. So thank you. Now, let's take a breath and address what we can do when we feel stuck in life. There's a moment that doesn't get talked enough. It's not quite rock bottom, and it's not the comeback. It's that stretch in between, that grey zone where nothing is wrong, but also nothing is right. You're not failing. You're not succeeding. You are just still. You are just there. Still in the same job, the same habits, the same conversations, on what seems like an endless loop. And then you open your eyes one day and think, well, is this it? Is this my life? I know that space all too well. I have lived there for far too many years of my life. I find myself coming back to that place fairly often. And for all of those feeling the same, I want you to know something that took me far too long to realize. Feeling stuck isn't failure. It's a signal for you to change. It's not that you're broken. It's that your body is calling you to evolve. The unfortunate thing is that most people will not listen to this message, even if our body is screaming it at us. And this is something that I find quite poignant when working in a gym. And if there's any trainers out there, you will completely understand. People have just lost touch with everything that's happening with their body. They come to us and they say, hey, after every time I eat, I feel sleepy. My tummy bubbles. I have trouble sleeping. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. But all of these are signs. They're signs that your body is trying to tell you something, and your mind can do this too. And often that message could be you feeling stuck, you feeling like you're spinning your wheels. And so before I get cracking on the rest of the script, I want you to be aware of a few physiological signs that may be trying to tell you something. These signs could be your digestion. I briefly mentioned that just before. If it's off, if your belly feels wrong, and sorry for being a bit disgusting here, if your poop isn't right, and you know what that means, there's something wrong with your system. It's not just how it is, there's something wrong. Your mood, if you're always up or down, boys, I know, and dads, I know you can relate to this. If you're snippy one day at your family, but then all of a sudden you feel very grateful the next, that fluctuation of mood could be a sign that there is something wrong. And your energy and your sleep are great barometers for this as well. And of course, your resilience. If you're going throughout your day and you feel like even the smallest little problem sets you off, you feel less resilient than you normally do, that could be a sign of fatigue. It could be a sign that there's something wrong with your nervous system or with your body. Most people will unfortunately give in, concede to a life of distraction, comfort, and short-lived gratification. And yet, some are still frustrated that their life is this way. And team, I do not want that for you, dear listener. When we feel this way, we often think we need to blow everything up, quit our job, move cities, start a Reiki healing side business. Know a few people that have done that, fun fact. But these are just frivolous, unstrategic moves. They are a jerk reaction to how you're feeling. I do not want moves. I want momentum in your life to spark change. And momentum needs to start with something very small. We cannot jump to 100 k's an hour without first starting at 1 kilometer an hour. And I know that may seem really petty, but even 1 kilometre an hour is progress for someone who is standing completely still and spinning their wheels. And the core of this idea is a pillar of a lot of the self-development frameworks that I deal with. We need to start small. We need to build habits, because ultimately I'm thinking in the long term here, whether it's you changing something about your life because you feel stuck, you progressing in your career, you progressing in the gym with your health and fitness, we need to develop habits to elicit long-term results. And for me as a coach, I'm thinking years. I'm thinking 1 year, 2 years, 3 years ahead. Where will you be in that time? I'm not thinking weeks. It's not about the 8-week challenge, really. It's more about the 8-year challenge. What person will you be in the long term, and what can we do now to plant those seeds, to build those trees? And so I want to introduce you and explain a little bit more about this core tenet of my value system, a strategy that will turn you into someone completely different in just a few months or maybe even years' time. It's something I call the 1% rule. A value that I blatantly emulated from LSKD, one of the best sportswear brands out there. But it's one of those values that is far too strong for me not to adopt it as my own. Now, when I was at my lowest after cancer, I was stuck. I was really stuck. Probably just how you may be feeling right now. And look, I didn't rebuild my life with a grand plan. I didn't do the spreadsheets. I didn't have the blueprints. I didn't even have an end goal. I had no idea where I was going, but I knew exactly how I was going to do it. I simply changed one small thing. One small, petty, unsexy thing, and then another, and then another, and then another. I simply committed to being 1% better every single day. 1 more minute of walking, 1 less scroll before bed, 1 uncomfortable conversation that I had been putting off, 1 more self-affirming thought, 1 more glass of water, 1 more curious question, 1 more page of a book. Just 1 thing at a time every single day. And over time, I found that the benefits compounded. And the real way I discovered the 1% rule is actually an interesting one. I want to tell you a story. I'm one of those people that every night I will have a magnesium hot chocolate before I go to bed, relaxes the nervous system. It brings up my magnesium levels. I really like it. With that magnesium hot chocolate, I always have an arrowroot biscuit, a milk arrowroot biscuit, the unsung hero of the Arnott's family assorted pack. I used to have 1 every single night, and one day I decided to investigate and see how many calories are in this 1 biscuit, and it turns out there's 36 calories in a milk arrowroot biscuit, and I thought, hey, that's fine. I'm eating about 3,200 calories a day, which is a lot. This biscuit is just a drop in the ocean. It's not going to do me any harm. But then one day I decided to do some math, which is very uncharacteristic of me. I decided to do some calculations. How many calories would I eat if I had this 1 arrowroot biscuit every single day for a year? And so I did the math, and it turns out that I would eat 13,140 calories, which equates to 18 packets of this arrowroot biscuit, and about 6 entire days worth of calories. And as soon as I did that, my mind was blown. At the end of the year, if I knew I ate 18 packets of arrowroot biscuits, and that I've equated 6 full days of eating just from arrowroot biscuits, that's more than just a drop in the ocean for me. And so this is when I realized even these small things have a compounding benefit, but it works the other way as well with positive things in your life. So let's take walking, something that people underestimate, and I still think it's one of the most powerful, transformative forms of exercise you can do if you do it consistently. But people overlook it because it's so simple. If you walked 15 minutes every single day for an entire year, you would walk the equivalent of 8.6 marathons. That's about an extra 20,000 calories you will burn throughout your year, which is about 10 days of eating from 15 minutes of walking. It's through the arrowroot biscuit story and this idea of small bite-sized exercise snacks that I understood the power of 1%, but the power of 1% isn't seen the next day, it's seen years down the track. 1% better every day. And look, I say this like it's easy, really it's not. It's simple, it's digestible, it's marketable, but it's by no means a walk in the park. Committing to getting 1% better every day relies on a level of relentless consistency, discipline, a feat anyone can do with the right support network and the right mindset. But remember, it's not about these big sweeping changes. It's about identifying one change at a time, making that change a habit, and then identifying another one. If you are stuck in life feeling you are indifferent to your day-to-day actions, the 1% rule could be your ticket out of this joint. But understanding that even shifting things 1% can be uncomfortable. And I don't want the discomfort of change to deter you. Rather, I want you to lean in. I want you to search for discomfort. A lack of discomfort could be why you are feeling so stuck in life at the moment. Discomfort is where growth happens, physically, emotionally, professionally, mentally, spiritually, financially, relationally. The human body and mind doesn't grow unless there is a reason to. So, if we keep building our lives around avoiding these hard things, such as keeping your headphones in to avoid conversation, looking for the latest fat freezing procedure instead of hitting the gym, staying in the same job because it's easy, always working from home to avoid other people, or maybe constantly listening to podcasts to avoid any internal dialogue you may have, staring at the mirror in that one. If we keep doing these things like this, we are dooming ourselves to a life of frustrating stagnancy. And more importantly, we might be missing out on a life of astounding happiness and success. Honestly though, I get it, I do. The modern day life we live almost curates these behaviors. They're hard to avoid. So even if the ones I mentioned may resonate with you, do not beat yourself up. It may not be your fault. Humans, we're built to search for comfort. Because comfort is safe, comfort keeps us alive, but comfort isn't always safe. Sometimes it can be stagnation in disguise. And I think that notion is perpetuated, particularly when you become a parent. At least that's what happened to me when I became a dad. I was forced into more discomfort than I was ready for or even knew about, forced into situations that I didn't even know could exist, to look after a child, and because of that, you come out a completely different person. This is probably why being a parent is one of the most powerful self-development processes that you will ever go through. So what now? We know being stuck is human. You are not crazy. We know we need to start small with being 1% better. We know that all these small changes will be uncomfortable, but that is the point. Don't shy away from it just because of that. The theory is all here, but now it's time for the hardest part, listener. Action. This is the hardest thing for a speaker to do. We can inspire, we can communicate ideas and concepts, we can really sell them in, but we cannot step inside your body and do the action for you. Although that would be a bit strange, and how do I think about that? You need to do the action. You need to take the action in your life. You need to be the one that breaks the circuit so you do not feel stuck. You need to try something different. And this action could be the thing that lights something inside you. And suffice to say, this action of taking your life in a new direction, 1% at a time, could be the foundation of generational change. Don't underestimate how your actions affect other people around you. Always remember, behavior is a language. Ultimately, I'm asking you to just be a little bit vulnerable. Be a little bit vulnerable to start the wheel of change. Specifically, I want you to make what's called a 5-minute action, and I want you to do it right now, or at least in the next minute or so. A 5-minute action is a small 1% step that will lead to the next action to spark even more change. Here are some examples. If you are ready to start your weight loss journey, send an email to the gym asking how they can help you. Not necessarily asking to join, but asking how they can help. And hey, if you're near a Jets gym, let me know. Email hello@bartwalsh.com.au and I will make that introduction for you. If you have come to the conclusion that the job you have been at for years is no longer serving you, Don't spend 5 minutes looking at job ads on Seek. Instead, find the company that you want to work for, the role that you want, and reach out to them. Start to reverse engineer the dream. Or if you're even struggling to get out of bed, if you feel like the entire world is just grey and bleak, I want you to call a friend. Call a friend you haven't seen in a while and book in a table at brunch. It's time you realize that humans aren't meant to go through these thoughts or feelings alone. And look, there are millions of 5-minute actions that you can do right now that will kickstart the momentum you are looking for. So I want you to find that action, identify it, and then in the next 5 minutes, 3, 2, 1, go, make that action to start your journey. And sidebar here, don't underestimate this. It seems so petty and it seems so small. But this is the igniter. This is the ignition switch onto the next action. This will hopefully put you in a position of slight discomfort that will give you direction onto the next choice and onto the next decision. And I suppose a good example of that was last year. I was just going through the motions with my fitness, which never happened with me, but I needed a circuit breaker. I needed to do something different. So I emailed the local kayak club, a sport and an exercise I have never done before, and said, hey, I want to learn. Help me to learn. And I started a new exercise journey off the back of that. It was so uncomfortable. If you've never kayaked in like a sprint kayak before, you have to practice to even stay in there, let alone actually do the paddles. And so it took me months to find my balance, let alone move forward. Anyway, all of this to say, that was a 5-minute action. Me reaching out to the kayak club saying, hey, can you help me? And they said yes, and that started a whole new journey for me. All right, team. Let's bring it home. You are not stuck in life because you are lost. You are stuck because you are at the end of one journey and on the edge of another. You're at the precipice of something new, something exciting, but the only person that can take that first step is you. So I want you to take one small, uncomfortable step. Commit to being 1% better every single day, and then be patient and see where that discomfort and growth will take you. Hey team, if you made it this far, thank you for listening today. Look, we do have a pretty hefty goal here with the show, so if you haven't already, hit that 5-star rating, hit that subscribe, hit that like, hit all of those buttons if you can. It really helps us boost our message into the algorithm and get this show hopefully out to a lot more people. And hey, if you have a topic for the show you want me to address, any questions, or hey, any success stories with your health, mental, physical, either way, send them in. hello@bartwalsh.com.au. I would love to hear from you. And that's it from me, team. And remember, choose to be better. Bye.